Bruce Lee was called into the ring by Muhammad Ali and said, "Hit me." 3 seconds later, history was made. The arena was alive with noise, cheers crashing like waves, cameras flashing, anticipation hanging heavy in the air. In the center of it all stood Muhammad Ali, the world's most electrifying boxer. He bounced lightly on his feet, smiling, confident, untouchable. This was his domain, his ring, his rules. Then something unexpected happened. From the edge of the crowd, a man stepped forward, quiet, calm, almost invisible against the roar of the audience. No boxing gloves, no robe, no entourage, just a lean frame, sharp eyes, and a stillness that felt out of place in such chaos. Bruce Lee. Whispers rippled through the seats. That's the kung fu guy. What's he doing here? Is this a joke? Ali tilted his head, amused. He had faced the hardest punchers on the planet. Speed, power, bravado, he had it all. He laughed lightly, not unkindly, as Bruce entered the ring. "So," Ali said, grinning, "what you gonna do?" Bruce Lee didn't raise his voice. He didn't posture. He didn't smile. He simply looked at Ali, steady, focused, and said 2 words that would echo through martial arts history. "Hit me." The crowd burst into laughter. Ali raised an eyebrow. "You sure, man?" he joked. "1 punch, and it's over." Bruce didn't move. Didn't blink. "Hit me," he repeated. For a split second, the laughter faded. Something about Bruce's calm made the air feel different, thicker, sharper, like the moment before a lightning strike. Ali, still smiling, lifted his glove. Not full power. Just speed. Just a flash. Just enough to make a point. What happened next took less than 3 seconds. But those 3 seconds would be talked about for decades. Because before Ali's legendary punch could land, before the crowd could even inhale, Bruce Lee disappeared from where he stood. Not stepped back. Not flinched. Not retreated. He moved. And in that blink of time, history leaned forward, waiting. No one in that arena knew it yet, but they were about to witness something that would change how the world understood speed, skill, and true mastery forever. Bruce Lee was called into the ring by Muhammad Ali and said, "Hit me." 3 seconds later, history was made. This moment didn't happen during a televised championship fight. There were no judges, no belts on the line, and no official scorecards. Yet everyone present that day would later say the same thing. They witnessed something rare. The gathering was private, an exclusive training exhibition attended by boxers, martial artists, coaches, promoters, and a few journalists lucky enough to be invited. It was meant to be relaxed, friendly, a showcase of skill. Muhammad Ali was the main attraction, as always. Wherever Ali went, attention followed. Ali was already a legend. World champion. Lightning-fast hands. A voice that could shake a room before his punches ever could. He joked with the crowd, danced across the canvas, shadowboxed the air like it owed him money. "I float like a butterfly," he said, grinning, "and sting like a bee." The room erupted in laughter and applause. Ali loved moments like this, not just because he was unbeatable in the ring, but because he understood something deeper. Confidence was half the battle. And he had more confidence than anyone alive. That's when a few whispers began spreading through the crowd. "Is that Bruce Lee? The martial arts guy from the movies? What's he doing here?" Bruce Lee stood near the edge of the gym, hands relaxed at his sides, eyes observant. He wasn't there to challenge anyone. He wasn't there to perform. He had been invited quietly, out of respect, curiosity, and growing reputation. By this point, Bruce Lee was becoming famous, but not in the same world as Ali. Boxers ruled the sports headlines. Martial artists were still seen by many as performers, not fighters. Fast, yes, but untested. Some in the crowd didn't hide their doubts. That stuff only works in movies. Boxing speed is different. Ali would knock him out before he even blinks. Ali overheard the chatter and laughed. "Y'all talking about him?" he asked, pointing toward Bruce. "Bring the man over here." The room shifted. Bruce Lee stepped forward, calm and respectful. No swagger. No show. He didn't bow dramatically or raise his fists. He simply climbed into the ring like a student entering a classroom. Ali looked him up and down. "So," Ali said playfully, "you think you can keep up with me?" Bruce smiled faintly, not arrogantly, not nervously. Just aware. "I don't think," Bruce replied. "I move." That answer caught a few people off guard. Ali chuckled. "I like that. But you know this is a boxing ring, right?" Bruce nodded. "I know where I am." The two men stood face to face, two philosophies of combat, two worlds of movement. One built on rhythm, timing, and power. The other on speed, efficiency, and precision. No hostility. No anger. Just curiosity. Ali bounced lightly on his toes, testing distance. Bruce stood still, grounded, breathing slow and controlled. The contrast alone was fascinating. Someone from the crowd shouted, half joking, half serious, "Ali, show him how fast real hands are." Ali grinned. "Careful what you ask for." Then Ali turned to Bruce and said, "You ready?" Bruce met his gaze and answered softly, "I've been ready." That's when Bruce Lee said the words that would freeze the room. "Hit me." A ripple of laughter spread through the crowd again, but this time it was nervous. Curious. Unsure. Something had changed. Ali paused. Not because he was afraid, but because, for the first time, he was intrigued. Backhand index pointing right, quick pause. Support the channel. Thumbs up like this video if you enjoy legendary moments. Bell subscribe for more untold stories from combat sports and history. Ali raised his glove, still smiling, still relaxed. He wasn't planning to hurt Bruce. Just a quick demonstration. A fast punch. A reminder of reality. But Bruce Lee didn't move. He didn't tense up. He didn't prepare to block. He simply waited. The room held its breath. Because in that silence, between confidence and curiosity, between power and precision, something extraordinary was about to happen. And in the next 3 seconds, everything everyone thought they knew was about to be challenged. Bruce Lee was called into the ring by Muhammad Ali and said, "Hit me." 3 seconds later, history was made. The air inside the gym felt heavy, like the moment just before a storm breaks. Conversations faded into whispers. Even the cameras seemed to stop clicking. All eyes were locked on the ring, where two legends, though from different worlds, stood only a few feet apart. Muhammad Ali rolled his shoulders once and smiled. He had done this his entire life. Distance, timing, rhythm, this was his language. He didn't see Bruce Lee as a threat, not yet. More like a curiosity. A fast man from a different discipline stepping into a boxer's world. "You sure you want me to go?" Ali asked, half joking. Bruce Lee nodded. His posture was relaxed, but his eyes were alert, reading every movement, every shift of weight. "Yes," he said quietly. "Just one." Ali laughed. "All right then. Don't blink." Ali began to bounce lightly, left foot, right foot, hands loose but ready. The familiar rhythm returned to him, smooth and natural. The crowd recognized it instantly, the dance that came before the sting. People leaned forward, expecting the flash of Ali's legendary jab. Bruce Lee remained still. That alone unsettled a few observers. Fighters knew that stillness could mean two things: fear or supreme control. And Bruce didn't look afraid. Ali decided to make it quick. His left shoulder twitched, a classic feint. His weight shifted forward. In the same instant, his left glove shot out, fast as lightning, aimed straight toward Bruce Lee's face. Not full power, but full speed. The kind of punch that had embarrassed world-class boxers. To everyone watching, it looked unavoidable. But before the punch fully extended, before the crowd could even react, Bruce Lee moved. Not backward. Not sideways. Forward. In a blink, Bruce slipped inside the punch, his head moving just inches off the line of attack. Ali's glove cut through empty air. At the same time, Bruce's right hand snapped up, not a strike meant to hurt, but a precise tap to Ali's chest, right over the sternum. Then another movement. Bruce's fingers brushed Ali's neck, stopping just short of pressure. Then it was over. All of it happened in less than 3 seconds. Ali's punch never landed. The gym went silent. Ali froze mid-stance, his glove extended where Bruce's head had been. His eyes widened, not in fear, but in surprise. Genuine surprise. Something he rarely showed in the ring. He slowly pulled his glove back and looked down at his chest, then up at Bruce Lee. Bruce had already stepped back, returning to his original position, calm and composed, as if nothing had happened at all. For a moment, no one spoke. Then the murmurs started. "Did you see that? He went inside the punch. That was fast." Trainers exchanged looks. Fighters shook their heads. A few smiled, realizing they had just witnessed something extraordinary. Ali exhaled and laughed softly, breaking the tension. "Well, I'll be damned," he said. He circled Bruce once, eyes sharp now, no longer playful. He had felt it, the timing, the control, the absolute confidence. Bruce hadn't tried to dominate him. He had simply shown him something. "You didn't even try to hurt me," Ali said. Bruce nodded. "That wasn't the point." Ali raised an eyebrow. "Then what was?" Bruce answered calmly, "To show that speed isn't about how hard you hit, but how soon you arrive." That line hit harder than any punch. Ali smiled, but it was a different smile now. Not the grin of a showman, but the smile of a craftsman who had just learned something new. The crowd began to applaud, slowly at first, then louder. Not for a knockout. Not for a victory. But for a moment of pure understanding between two masters. Ali lifted his gloves slightly, then lowered them. "All right," he said, nodding. "I see you." Bruce bowed his head respectfully. The conflict wasn't about who would win a fight. It was about challenging assumptions. And in those 3 seconds, Bruce Lee had done exactly that. Without throwing a single punch meant to harm. But the impact of that moment was only beginning to sink in. Because what followed next would turn surprise into respect. And respect into legend. Bruce Lee was called into the ring by Muhammad Ali and said, "Hit me." 3 seconds later, history was made. For a few long moments after the exchange, the gym remained frozen in silence. It wasn't the awkward kind of quiet. It was the kind that follows something unexpected, something the mind needs time to process. Muhammad Ali stood at the center of the ring, no longer bouncing on his feet. His gloves hung lower now. His eyes stayed on Bruce Lee, studying him with a new level of focus. The playful energy had vanished, replaced by curiosity and respect. Ali broke the silence with a soft laugh. "Man, you're fast." Bruce Lee gave a slight nod. No celebration. No prideful grin. To him, the moment had already passed. But to everyone watching, it felt like time had slowed down. A trainer near the ropes shook his head. "I didn't even see him move." Another whispered, "That wasn't luck. That was timing." The journalists in the room scribbled notes, realizing they had just witnessed something that didn't fit neatly into headlines. This wasn't a fight. It wasn't an exhibition. It was a demonstration of mastery. Ali stepped closer. "When I throw that jab," he said, "most fighters don't even think. They react late. You moved before it was there." Bruce replied calmly, "I didn't wait for the punch. I read the intention." That sentence landed heavy. Ali nodded slowly. As a boxer, he understood intention. Feints, rhythm, deception, these were tools he had perfected. But Bruce was talking about something deeper, recognizing movement before it became movement. Ali gestured toward Bruce's feet. "You didn't dance," he said. "You didn't back up. You stepped in." "Yes," Bruce answered. "Retreat gives speed power. Entry takes it away." The trainers exchanged looks again. This wasn't just physical. This was philosophy. Ali laughed, shaking his head. "You know," he said, "people think fighting is just fists." Bruce smiled faintly. "They confuse violence with understanding." The crowd slowly began to relax, but the atmosphere had changed permanently. The skepticism that had filled the room earlier was gone. In its place was admiration, mixed with disbelief. One of Ali's coaches stepped forward. "Champ," he said, "that was clean. Real clean." Ali turned to him. "I know." Ali then faced the crowd. "Y'all saw that, right?" he said loudly. I didn't let him do that. He took it. The crowd responded with applause, louder now, more confident. People weren't cheering for a winner. They were cheering for truth. Bruce Lee stepped back toward the ropes, as if to exit the ring. He had said what he needed to say, with movement, not words. Ali raised a glove. "Hold on," he said. Bruce paused. Ali walked up to him and extended his hand. Bruce accepted it. The handshake wasn't dramatic, but it was powerful. Two masters acknowledging each other, not as rivals, but as equals from different paths. Ali leaned in slightly and said, quietly enough that only a few nearby could hear, "If you wanted to hit me, I wouldn't have seen it." Bruce answered just as quietly, "If I wanted to hurt you, I wouldn't need to." No threat. No arrogance. Just truth. That exchange sealed the moment. From that point on, the narrative shifted. No one talked about whether kung fu could work against boxing. No one joked about movie fighters. The question became something else entirely. How much was there left to learn? Ali stepped back and addressed the room once more. "Speed," he said, "isn't just about hands. It's about mind." He pointed toward Bruce Lee. "That man's mind is already there." The applause that followed wasn't loud, it was deep, respectful, earned. Bruce bowed his head to Ali, then to the crowd, and finally stepped out of the ring. As he did, people realized something important. Those 3 seconds hadn't just shown speed. They had shown restraint, control, and a level of mastery so complete. It didn't need to prove itself again. And while the moment itself was over, its impact was just beginning, because what followed would turn respect into legend, and legend into a lesson the world would never forget. Bruce Lee was called into the ring by Muhammad Ali and said, "Hit me." 3 seconds later, history was made. The applause slowly faded, but the tension in the air remained. Muhammad Ali stood quietly now, no longer the showman, no longer performing for laughs. His posture was relaxed, but his eyes followed Bruce Lee as he stepped away from the ring. Something inside Ali had shifted, not shaken, not threatened, but awakened. Ali turned to the trainers at ringside. "You saw that," he said. "Not a question. A statement." One trainer nodded. "Champ, that wasn't normal speed." Another added, "He didn't react to you. He read you." Ali exhaled slowly. For a man who had faced the hardest hitters in the world, this moment was different. He had not been outpowered. He had been outtimed. Bruce Lee stood a few steps away, speaking quietly with an organizer. Calm. Grounded. As if nothing remarkable had just happened. Ali walked toward him. "You know," Ali said, loud enough for the nearby crowd to hear, "I fought men who punch harder than trucks." Bruce listened respectfully. "But I've never seen anyone move before the punch existed." Bruce smiled slightly. "Speed is visible," he replied. "Timing is invisible." That answer spread through the room faster than any rumor. Fighters repeated it to one another. Journalists wrote it down. Trainers nodded in silence. Ali laughed again, but this time there was no teasing in it. "Man," he said, "you're dangerous." Bruce shook his head. "No," he said gently. "I'm disciplined." That distinction mattered. People often confused aggression with strength, noise with power. But what Bruce Lee had demonstrated wasn't aggression at all, it was control. He could have struck harder. He could have embarrassed Ali. He chose not to. And that choice spoke louder than any knockout. The crowd slowly began to surround the ring, buzzing with conversation. "Did you see how close that was? Ali didn't even finish the punch. That wasn't luck. No way." Ali raised a hand, quieting the room. "Let me say something," he announced. The room fell silent again. "I talk a lot," Ali said, smiling. "Y'all know that." Light laughter followed. "But I also know real skill when I see it." He gestured toward Bruce Lee. "This man isn't about showing off. He's about understanding." Ali paused, then added, "If we fought under rules, I'd box. If we fought without rules, I'd want him on my side." That line earned a wave of applause. Backhand index pointing right, quick pause. Show some love. Thumbs up like this video if this moment changed how you see combat. Speech balloon comment below. Was this respect or domination? Fire type legend if you think both men earned it. Bruce Lee bowed his head slightly, not in submission, but in appreciation. Respect, Bruce said. Ali nodded back. Always. As the crowd began to disperse, the conversation didn't die, it grew. Trainers debated. Fighters argued playfully. Philosophies clashed and merged. Some boxers admitted something they never would have said out loud before. Speed like that could change everything. Others realized that martial arts wasn't just about flashy kicks or movie scenes. At its highest level, it was about efficiency, doing more with less, moving only when necessary, striking only when certain. Ali watched Bruce Lee walk away, surrounded now by curious onlookers asking questions. Ali turned to one of his coaches and said quietly, "That man doesn't waste motion." The coach nodded. "And he doesn't waste ego." That was the true realization. This moment wasn't about proving who was better. It was about understanding that greatness could exist in different forms, and that real masters recognized it instantly. As Bruce Lee reached the exit, he turned back briefly and looked toward the ring one last time. Ali raised a glove in acknowledgement. No rivalry. No challenge. Just mutual respect. And in that moment, everyone present understood something powerful. History isn't always made with fists. Sometimes, it's made with restraint. And the lesson of those 3 seconds would travel far beyond that gym, into training halls, philosophies, and legends yet to be born. Because from that day forward, whenever people spoke about speed, timing, and true mastery, one question would always follow. Did you see what Bruce Lee did to Muhammad Ali? Bruce Lee was called into the ring by Muhammad Ali and said, "Hit me." 3 seconds later, history was made. The gym slowly returned to life. Chairs scraped the floor. Conversations overlapped. Laughter mixed with disbelief. But the energy was no longer chaotic, it was thoughtful, reflective. People weren't arguing anymore. They were learning. Muhammad Ali sat down on a stool near the ring, gloves resting on his knees. He wasn't tired, but he was thinking. For a man whose mind was always racing, this kind of quiet focus was rare. One of the younger boxers approached hesitantly. "Champ," he said, "what was that like?" Ali looked up and smiled. "It felt like missing a step you didn't know existed," he replied. "You think the floor is there, and suddenly it's gone." That answer spread quickly. Across the room, Bruce Lee spoke with a small group of martial artists. They asked him about speed, reaction, and whether he had planned the movement. Bruce shook his head. "Planning is slow," he said. "Awareness is instant." One of them asked, "So what style was that?" Bruce smiled. "No style." That phrase, "no style," caught attention. Bruce explained that styles were tools, not identities. The moment a fighter clung to a label, he limited himself. Ali overheard part of the conversation and stood up. "You mind if I join?" he asked. Bruce welcomed him with a nod. Ali looked at Bruce seriously now. "You know people are going to talk about this forever." Bruce answered calmly, "Let them. Words don't change reality." Ali laughed. "Man, I like you." Ali then turned to the group. "I've trained my whole life to be fast," he said. "But he showed me something different. He showed me when to be fast." The group listened closely. Ali continued, "Power is easy. Speed is rare. But timing is everything." Bruce nodded in agreement. "That's why," Bruce added, "I didn't strike after the punch. I entered before it." One of the trainers shook his head. "That's crazy." Bruce corrected him gently. "That's awareness." The resolution of the moment wasn't about celebration or praise. It was about integration, two disciplines learning from each other. Ali asked Bruce about training methods. Bruce asked Ali about footwork and rhythm. They exchanged ideas like students, not competitors. At one point, Ali said, "You know, if boxing gyms trained awareness like that, things would change." Bruce replied, "If martial artists trained humility like you, things would also change." Ali laughed loudly at that. Fair enough. The room filled with smiles. As people prepared to leave, journalists tried to approach Bruce for comments. He declined politely. Ali, however, spoke briefly. I didn't lose anything today, Ali said. I gained perspective. That quote would later appear in articles, passed around by trainers and fighters alike. Before leaving, Ali walked Bruce Lee to the exit. You ever think about fighting for real? Ali asked. Bruce paused. Fighting proves very little, he said. Understanding proves everything. Ali nodded slowly. You know, Ali said, that might be the real championship. They shook hands again, longer this time. No cameras flashing. No audience applause. Just two men who had shared a moment of truth. As Bruce stepped outside, the noise of the city replaced the quiet of the gym. Life moved on. But something had changed. Inside that building, fighters would train differently. Trainers would teach differently. And stories would be told differently. Because resolution isn't always about winning or losing. Sometimes, it's about evolving. And that day, evolution happened in 3 seconds. Not through force, but through understanding. Bruce Lee was called into the ring by Muhammad Ali and said, "Hit me." 3 seconds later, history was made. Years passed. The gym where it happened returned to normal. The ring was used again and again. New fighters trained, sweated, and dreamed. But the story of that day never faded. It traveled far beyond those walls, passed from coach to student, from fighter to fighter, from generation to generation. Not because it was a fight, but because it was a lesson. Whenever people talked about speed, someone would eventually say, "Did you hear what Bruce Lee did to Muhammad Ali?" Whenever people talked about greatness, someone would add, "And do you know what Ali said afterward?" The moment became legend, not exaggerated, not loud, but precise, just like Bruce Lee himself. Muhammad Ali went on to become more than a champion. He became a symbol of courage, confidence, and conviction. But even at the peak of his fame, he never dismissed that moment. In private conversations, he spoke of it with respect. He showed me something, Ali once said. Not about fighting, but about awareness. Bruce Lee, on the other hand, continued his path, teaching, creating, questioning limits. He didn't chase titles. He didn't seek validation from rings or trophies. His goal was deeper. To understand the human body. To understand the human mind. To understand freedom. What happened between Ali and Bruce Lee represented something rare in history. Two masters meeting without ego. No trash talk. No rivalry. No need to prove dominance. Just truth. And that truth carried a powerful moral. True strength isn't about overpowering others. It's about mastering yourself. Bruce Lee didn't defeat Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali wasn't exposed or embarrassed. Instead, both men grew. Bruce showed that speed and timing, when combined with awareness, could neutralize even the greatest power. Ali showed that true champions are willing to learn, even when they're already on top. That's why this moment matters. In a world obsessed with winning, Bruce Lee chose restraint. In a world obsessed with ego, Muhammad Ali chose respect. And that combination is what made history. Bruce Lee once said, "Knowing is not enough. We must apply. Willing is not enough. We must do." That day, he applied it. And Ali, one of the greatest fighters who ever lived, recognized it instantly. The lesson goes beyond fighting. In life, people often rush to prove themselves. They speak before listening. They react before understanding. But mastery, real mastery, comes from awareness. From knowing when to move, and when not to. From knowing that you don't need to dominate a room to command respect. Sometimes, all it takes is 3 seconds of truth. That's why this story endures. Not because of fists, but because of philosophy. Not because of victory, but because of humility. Backhand index pointing down. Now it's your turn. If you believe real strength is discipline, type respect in the comments. Thumbs up like this video if this story taught you something deeper. Bell subscribe for more legendary moments that changed history. globe showing Europe, Africa, and tell me, where are you watching from? Because legends don't just win fights. They leave lessons behind. And the greatest ones teach without ever throwing a punch.